Hi, I'm Marge Robeson, registered dietitian with Pasonic Partners.
And I'm Louis Aguilar, chef at LCCAA Head Start.
I'm Melinda Gray, food service manager at LCCAA Head Start.
Welcome to our Out of the Box cooking series, where we're focusing on comfort cuisine. Who doesn't love some comfort cuisine, right? And who doesn't love dessert, right? We rarely do a dessert, but today we're gonna make an easy apple crisp, which I think is a very comforting dessert, right? And when it bakes, it smells so yummy and good. What kind of desserts do you like?
I'm very fond of fruit salad.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit healthier, and I know it's not, but I'm a little bit fond of fruit salads.
Yeah. What about you, Melinda?
Mine's more on the unhealthier side. I love cheesecake.
You and me both. You and me both. Well, as a dietitian, I will say an apple crisp is probably a healthier dessert. It does use fruit. You can control the amount of sugar that you put in something. So I love this recipe. It's an easy recipe that your kids will be able to help participate in. Of course, you're gonna get your box of all the goodies. And in that box, of course, we always give you some equipment that you'll need to make this recipe. So this recipe calls for cooking it in a 2-quart baking dish. So you will be getting that baking dish. Of course, we'll be sending you some apples, right? And I think the recipe says 2 pounds of apples, which again, apples come in different shapes and sizes.
It's about 4 to 6 medium.
Okay. And the nice thing about this recipe is if you have a few more apples or a few less apples, that's okay, right? So I think when you finally chop the apples up, you'll want, 4 to 6 cups of apples, okay?
You have extra apples with the children, you know?
Yes, we often send extra so they can have the extra apples just as a snack. This calls for some oats, some sugar to make a yummy topping with some butter. And then, I think what makes this very comforting is some of these spices that are in there. The cinnamon, vanilla, and some cloves, sounds very seasonal, some ginger, cinnamon, flour we need, more flour, and last but not least, some salt. And we often, I will say, put some extra goodies in the box. So there might be some other surprises in there.
Make your house smell really good.
It does make your house smell good when you bake it. And of course, the recipe is in there too. So we are going to wash our hands and get started making this recipe. And the first thing is you're gonna peel and dice or slice the apples.
Yeah, so you want to peel your apple. And again, since we are getting rid of the core, you don't need to get into that crevice. Same for the base of it. So you want to peel it.
So the nice thing I think about apple crisp is it's a great way, certainly tastes great when apples are in season and you can go pick local apples with your kids and then make an apple crisp. That's a great experience. But also when apples get so they're maybe bruised a little bit or don't look so nice and they sit around, nobody wants to eat them, apple crisp is a great use of those apples. So no fear if they have some bumps or bruises on them. Go ahead and make an apple crisp. Okay.
What you'll want to do too also just keep in mind, when you are picking apples for this, you either want to use a Granny Smith or a Honey Crisp, just because of the texture. The softer the apple, once we get to the baking portion of it, it will become just a little bit mushier. Think applesauce once you apply that heat.
Nice.
What you want to do is cut this down the middle, and the core, we'll take care of it once we have them. And again, we're doing slices. So this, what I like to do is here, if we just give it a cut at an angle, it'll kind of essentially take care of that whole core. So we're going to do that for all these. Go right above where you see that.
So I think kids could probably help with the peeling. Of course, the cutting, an adult should do that. If you have kid-friendly knives in your house, kids could help with that.
And these you want to slice, and maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch. You don't want to do it any thinner because remember, This does have a crust on top, and we want to give that enough time to brown. The thinner you cut the apple, the faster it will cook. So you want to kind of balance that out and maybe leave it on the thicker side of the cut when you slice it.
So you got all the apples. This is, I mean, a really simple recipe for sure. So all the apples are cut up. We have preheated our oven to 350 degrees. So that's always a first step, is to preheat your oven. And then we're going to kind of add some seasonings to these apples. When you open these spices, they smell amazing. And I think this would be so fun with kids, as you open the box and open a spice, to have them smell the difference between cinnamon and cloves and ginger. Like, that's just like fun. And then when they're all together, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The aromatics are just amazing.
Yeah. So in a small bowl, we have to combine the seasonings that are going to go on top of that. So we'll just do it right in here. So we have the sugar, and then to that, we have to add a little bit of flour.
Yep. And what the flour does is, once we start the baking portion of it with the heat and the juices from the apples itself, it'll kind of it'll thicken the juice up and kind of make your sauce, or that caramelization with the sugars.
Okay. And then we have some cinnamon. I love ginger, cloves. If you haven't smelled cloves, like, definitely let your kids smell that. It smells wonderful.
Yes.
And then, you know, again, when you're eating things with kids and they may helped you make it, and you ask them, do you taste that clove in there? I think that's fun and a way to get them engaged. And then it has, you kind of mix all that together and sprinkle that over.
We'll sprinkle this over the apples, and then we'll incorporate it and make sure that they're kind of evenly distributed.
Okay. And this doesn't, again, apples are naturally sweet. It doesn't have a lot of extra sugar in it. So, and you can modify the sugar amount. This particular recipe, I think, is on the lighter side of sugars already, so that's great. People have made crisp with sugar substitutes if you prefer that. And we always talk about how you can modify these recipes. Besides apples, you could mix if you know how to make one crisp, you can make any fruit crisp. Or I have made this at the holidays, and just to add some holiday color, put some cranberries or something in it, blueberries, all of that is great.
Even within itself, mixing a variety of apples.
For sure.
Explore those different flavors.
Okay, and then it has a little bit of vanilla on it, just to add that. A little vanilla, I know, goes a long way, so it's just a little bit. And then we'll toss that.
And we'll just set these aside.
Okay.
And we'll work on our next portion of our recipe.
Okay. So the pan that you get, you want to make sure, I don't like any of it sticking to the pan. It gets a nice crust on it. So butter your pan well. Okay. And then we need to add all of our ingredients for a crumb topping. And if you've ever had apple crisp, is that not the best part, is the crumb topping?
And now we're going to start making the crumb topping. And it consists of oatmeal, flour, butter. Make sure this is room temperature, just because we're going to be working with it. And some sugar, cinnamon. And we're just going to essentially...
This is my favorite part of the recipe, is the topping, right? And I know that said if you want, you can double the topping. I would probably do that because I love that. So you have some old-fashioned oats in the bowl. Then you add like a little bit of flour, some brown sugar,
Yep.
salt and cinnamon.
Salt. This is lemon. You're going to get flour also. And what you could do is, before we add any of this wet, which essentially is the butter, you add our flour. Incorporate all this together.
Nice. So you want the butter to be in like little pieces so it melts with the oats and the sugar to make that crumb topping.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is probably where you can definitely get your kids involved.
Right. It's great.
That's where
Yeah.
and all you do is just work it until it clumps up, and a lot of that dry ingredients, including the flour, just gets incorporated into the butter.
So apples in our grease pan first. And again, feel free to use your hands at home. This is definitely the more fun part of this recipe, is assembling this.
Yeah.
And then you'll take your crumb topping, and essentially all you're doing is just spreading it in little chunks. Remember that the bigger the chunk, the more crunch.
Right. I think kids could, again, most of this recipe kids could do, except chopping the apple with the knife. Obviously, be careful with that. But so much of this, the kids could help participate in.
And then once we got this,
and I think kids could even take an apple with the seasonings on it, the spices, and just eat that raw and see what that tastes like, and then do an experiment and see after it's baked with the topping on it, how it tastes different, right? The whole process all the way through. So it looks like it's ready to go into the oven.
yes, and with remembering that all the flour that was incorporated in there, this will release its juices with the heat, and it will thicken up very nicely. So we'll pop this in the oven for about 45 minutes.
Yep.
So it's very brown, crispy. I love that, right? Looks wonderful. Should we, you can serve this by itself. You could serve it with some ice cream. When I made it at the holidays, I bought some different I bought cinnamon ice cream that went with the apple crisp, and it was delicious, right? So you could do that. You can make it even healthier, and I've taken leftover apple crisp and put it on some Greek yogurt in the morning. So you get a little sweet with some obviously healthy Greek yogurt.
Yes.
So that's great. So we're going to give this a try. Okay. Let's see here. And we did not bring ice cream, but kids would love some whipped cream on it. So I'll give that. We'll give it a little dollop of whipped cream. Does that not look delicious? I think the kids will absolutely love that. You know, I'm taking apart with the crumb topping on it. What?
It's I know. There we go. I'm trying to get the perfect piece.
I want to go back for another spoonful, but I know you can't re-dip your spoon. So since we all shared this, let me tell you, it's good. I think your kids will love it.
And again, we want the Head Start families to take advantage of all of these cooking series that we do to get the children in the kitchen, try new foods, which I have no problem. These kids will love to try this food.
For sure. Sure. So we're so glad that you could join us, and we look forward to having you participate again in another one of our out-of-the-box cooking series.